And now, back to the studio where Tuesday will predict the 2019 NFL Super Bowl champions.
Thanks, Tom, and welcome to the NFL Live on YouTube. Now then, you may be wondering why me, a Brit, is stood in an NFL jersey in front of the Stars and Stripes talking to you about American football. Well, I don't know, I just got told to do it by these two jokers. Yeah, cheers lads. So here we go, a British guide to the NFL playoffs. The National Football League is split into two conferences, the NFC and the AFC. Each of the conferences is split into 4 divisions, so 8 total. Still with me? The winner of these divisions each gets a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. However, the next 2 best teams in the NFC and the next 2 best teams in the AFC get into the playoffs on what's called a wild card. Those 4 teams add to the 8 divisional winners to get 12 playoff teams. That's where we are now. But the best 4 teams have a week off, and that's called a bye week. The other 8 teams are playing this weekend in the wild card weekend. And next week, the 4 winners of this week will play the 4 top seeds in what's called the Divisional Round for the Conference Championships, which happens in 2 weeks' time, which will crown champions of both the NFC and the AFC. Those go together and play in the Super Bowl. Makes sense. On to the predictions.
Let me ask your prediction, Coach, for the Super Bowl. I know it's early, but you would know. You have some insight.
Well, I would say Brett Favre.
The first game up was the Colts and the Texans. Now, the Colts and Texans are in the same division. For this game, I'm going to go with the Colts. And the reason for that is because A, the Texans have the worst offensive line in the NFL. And B, the Colts beat the Texans the last time they played. And this was actually the last defeat that the Texans had. However, the Colts have not lost any games in the last 4 and have won 9 out of the last 10 games. Whereas the Texans are sitting pretty with 2 out of the 4 last games and winning 8 out of the last 10. These are both really good records, but I think the Colts are going to edge it. I think it's still probably going to be a close one. However, the Colts have simply got the best form, and that is probably the best form of any team left in the playoffs. Next game up is my game of the week. 2 10-6 teams playing each other. But for this one, then I am going to go with the Seahawks. These teams are so evenly matched. Over the season, they've both won 10 games, both lost 6. If you look at the last 4 games, they've both won 3. And the last 10 games, they've both won 7. The only difference maker in the results that you can make is when Dallas lost to Seattle 24-13. That's not why I'm picking the Seahawks. The reason why I'm picking the Seahawks is because they've got a better football pedigree. They've got better players, they've got a better system, and they've got better coaches. When you get to the playoffs, it's a high intensity situation, and that is when you're going to have to recall on your veteran players and coaches to win you the game. So there you have it, Seattle in a close one. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Los Angeles Chargers. And despite the Chargers being 12-4, I'm going to go for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, this might come as a surprise to some of you, because if you look at form and you look at the last 10 games, then the Baltimore Ravens have only won 6 out of the last 10 games, whereas the Chargers have won 8. But if you look at the last loss for the Chargers, it was a 22-10 loss to the Ravens. It could be argued that the Chargers were happy to lose this game because they were already safe in the playoffs with 12 wins. But look at it this way. If you had the chance to go 13-3 instead of 12-4 and have home field advantage all the way through the playoffs, wouldn't you rather do that? So it's a bold call, but it's my call to make, and I'm predicting it. I am saying the Baltimore Ravens are going to beat the Chargers in this week's matchup. Finally for this week, we've got the Chicago Bears versus the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't wait for this one, and I am going to go with the Chicago Bears. This is an absolute no contest for me. You look at the Bears' record and they've lost 4 games. They lost to the Giants in overtime, they lost to the Dolphins in overtime, both by 3 points. They lost to the Packers by 1 point, and they lost to the New England Patriots by 7 points. This means that there was only 1 game all season where they were down by more than 1 point at the end of regulation time. Compare that to the Philadelphia Eagles. Although they're the reigning Super Bowl champions, they have lost 7 games this season and only won 9. This one is going to be an absolute whitewash. The Bears are going to wipe the floor with the Eagles. The Eagles' dreams are over. They might as well not bother turning up. It is officially Chicago time. With wildcard weekend predictions all done, we're now on to next week, which is the divisional round predictions. Hopefully these will be right, and this is what we'll see. First game is the Colts at the Chiefs, and this is going to be a close game, and it's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I'm going to give it to the Chiefs. Next up, my boys, the Los Angeles Rams are playing the Seattle Seahawks. This is a no contest. We beat them twice in the regular season. We'll thrash them in the playoffs. Ravens versus Patriots. Patriots. Next. Chicago at New Orleans. I do not want to call this one. It's going to be too close to call, but honestly, I think the Saints are going to win. This brings us to the last remaining 4 teams in the conference championships, NFC and AFC. And the winner of these 2 games will meet in the Superb Owl. Pat v Chiefs. Experience trumps youth. I'm afraid Mr. Mahomes, so Tom Brady and his Patriots are going to win this one. And it's hard for me to say this, but I think my boys are going to fail at the final hurdle and lose to the Saints. I'm going to save my predictions for the Super Bowl, which is on the 3rd of February, for that week, so stay tuned for that. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video or found it at all useful, then please drop me a subscription down there somewhere. And don't be afraid to like the video and tell all your friends by sharing it. Thanks again for watching. See you on the football field.